Cheers. Oh, you muted me.
I am. That was pretty good. I didn't mean to turn it on. I just happened to turn it on, and next thing you know, we shouldn't be laughing because this is a serious show.
No.
Welcome to Military History Chronicles, everybody. Myself, Eric, got Will with me. We did this last year. This is, as a matter of fact, one of my first shows that I ever did on Military History Chronicles was on September 11th. What's up, Val? What's up, Lethal? What's up, Morcana? So yeah, we're kind of just gonna just talk about it again. You know, this is something that I think we should be talking about on the anniversary, because it was such a monumental point of history, and I think we should always talk about it. You know, we could go ahead and we could do the reminiscing as far as, you know, where we were. What do you remember? Man, there may even be people in our chat, Will, to be honest with you, that probably weren't even alive during September 11th.
Oh no, there probably is. That's true.
Not a lot, because there's you know, we don't get a whole lot of young people on this one, but there may be a few out there that are like 23 years ago I wasn't even alive, and that's just crazy too. You know, is just I can't believe it's been 23 years. It's pretty amazing that you know how much time has flown ever since that event.
Oh my God, man! You know, time is an illusion.
I tell you what, let's go ahead. Let's start it off with this. A lot of stuff on Twitter, of course, today, people remembering and all that stuff. There's a fantastic story that I want to share. It's crazy, but this is kind of where it all began, right here.
This is the one I was talking about.
Just a little brief history. The guy in white, he is one of the key characters, I should say, that they interviewed in that National Geographic documentary on the World Trade Center. Basically, it's a whole episode just about him.
He was the first to report the aircraft hitting the Twin Towers.
Yeah,
and he was also one of the first to say that it was probably a terrorist. It looked like it looked like it was on purpose, is what he said.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and I think he was one of the first to arrive at the World Trade Center.
He lost his brother as well.
Yeah. All right, here we go. And just so you know, a little background on this, what they're actually here investigating, they're investigating a gas leak. So they're on a caller, you know, for something totally unrelated. And there happened to be a news crew just following them, you know, kind of like a day in the life of New York City Fire Department. So here we go. Listen. You're like, what? Oh, man. I mean, even when you still, I mean, even though it's been 20 minutes, it's just like with any other type of footage that's of that type of event being recorded, is just, you can never really grasp it. You're just like, what in the hell did I just witness? And wow. And that, again, that was just the beginning of the day of September 11th. You know, you had another plane hit the second World Trade Center. Then you had the Pentagon being hit. And then, of course, the heroes on United Flight 93, who overtook the plane, and they crashed in Shanksville, right? Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Abraham. Yeah, you call it. It's surreal. It's like a bad dream. 100%. It was just, it was incredible. I did the same thing, D-Shot. Actually, no. I take that back. I actually saw the recording. It's weird. I'll explain how it went down with me. Oh my gosh. That's the only video. There may be photos, but I think that's the only video of the plane.
That was the only video of them capturing it all. Well, shout out Obachan Konbanwa. My grandmother's watching from Japan.
Oh, is she?
So, yeah.
Hey, how's it going? And I think Glenn is watching. What's up, Glenn? It's weird because
the phone with her.
Yeah, we'll just go ahead and talk about I'll just get this out of the way. When the day that I remembered, I was in the Air Force. I was active duty. I was stationed at Shepherd Air Force Base in Texas. I was an instructor. But during this time, as a matter of fact, right before this, I was a security forces augmentee. So what happens is once a year, I got to go play cop for like a week or two.
You get to wear the little SF thing?
Yeah. No. We can't. You got the beret. Got to wear the beret. Of course, underarms, all that stuff. But okay. So I do that once a year. I just got done doing it. Now, normally you do it for 2 weeks, and what they normally do is they normally have 8-hour shifts. But during that time, security forces, I can't remember what it was. Were they just getting done with an exercise? There was something. Anyway, they were in 12-hour shifts. So basically, I had to do a week just for the simple fact that, we're doing 12-hour shifts. Well, I just got off. I was on the mid shift. And then I got off at 7 a.m., right? Had guard mount. Oh, the other team had guard, or the other shift coming on had guard mount. We turned in our guns for the day. Went home, I stayed up for maybe just a little bit, and then I go immediately to bed. Boom. So I'm laying down, and a couple hours later, or not even, maybe an hour later, my wife comes in. Hey, plane hit the World Trade Center. And I was like, kind of just groggy. He's like, oh, well, okay, I'll just read about it when I wake up, thinking nothing of it. I'm not thinking it's a freaking airliner flying into the damn World Trade. I thought maybe it was just a damn private plane. Something happened, whatever it may be. I didn't know at the time.
Right.
And then I swear, not even an hour later, my wife is screaming, Eric, the World Trade Center fell. I'm like, what? And I'm getting out of bed. I'm just going out to the front room the living room where the TV is. And I'm watching, I'm groggy. And I'm watching the replay of everything that happened. And I'm just like, what am I watching? What is this? And the first thing I told my wife is this is not an accident. Two planes at that time, they said they were airliners at that time. I was like, that doesn't happen. If you saw, it was a beautiful day. You saw that the damn visibility was incredible. I was like, this is not an accident. And then they flashed to the Pentagon. A Pentagon has been hit, and I saw it up in smoke. And I literally got chills at that time. And the first thing it popped in my mind is we're at war. Yep. I thought we were at war. I thought it was done. I was like, this is going to be the end of the damn world. They're hitting the World Trade Center and they're hitting the damn Pentagon. And I was just, seriously, after doing a 12-hour shift, usually you're pretty wiped out. Immediately awake, boom, dude. I was wired. And I told my wife, I was like, I got to get into work to find out what's going on. And I hadn't been recalled yet. This is just, fresh. And I remember getting dressed. I wasn't even, did I even get in my uniform? I can't remember. Anyways, I remember driving and there was a guy with his he's taking his luggage. It looked like he was going to billeting, and he couldn't get a taxi because everything was basically shut down. They weren't allowing anybody in or out of the damn base at that time. Yeah, we immediately went to ThreatCon freaking Delta. And actually, no, it was Charlie. We didn't go to Delta. And I picked a guy up. It's like, hey, man, I'll take you to billeting. He's like, what's going on? I was like, dude, the World Trade Center and the Pentagon got hit. And he's just like, oh, shit. So I took him to billeting, and then I went straight to work. And as soon as I did, and again, remember, I'm just an instructor. So it was more of a classroom. It was more of like a business building. It wasn't like your typical military building. It was really a really nice building, by the way. Mm-hmm. And people were just walking all over the place, or like fast walking everywhere, not knowing what the hell's. It's like people running with their heads cut off. I was like, what the hell is going on? Everybody, all the instructors were in the break room, just glued to the TV. What's going on? What's going on? Everyone started dropping the blinds and closing the blinds. They don't want because we had the side of our building was just all windows. So everyone's closing the windows and everything. I was like, what is going on here? And, as news is trickling, the students in the classrooms were freaking out. They didn't know what was going on. They're just recruits, They basically have only had a total of maybe 3 to 4 months worth of military service under their belt. They aren't expecting any of this. And I'll never forget. I was like, you know what? I'm calling security forces. And it's funny because my boss at the time, it was a civilian boss. He didn't like that I called him. I was like, you know what? I don't care, because I want to call them and tell them I just came off of a night shift. So if we're getting activated, I want to be on a night shift because I'm already acclimatized to it.
Right.
So I called security forces like, hey, this is Sergeant Romo. I want to just, hey, I understand we're probably going to get recalled, but can I just request to be on night since I just came off nights? He's like, yeah, that's cool. Just come in tonight. I was like, right on. So I told my boss, hey, I got to go in. Did you call? Yep. I was like, look, I'm not going to sit here and try to do a day shift after just doing a 12-hour shift.
Dude,
get out of here.
Brutal.
That ain't happening.
It's like doing CQ. F that.
And then for that whole time how long was I activated for? About 2 weeks straight. It was just absolutely just nuts. We had about seriously 6 to 7 people at every gate. At Sheppard Air Force Base, you had the main gate, you had the hospital gate, and you had the base housing gate. And every gate had like 7 people. They installed these the speed bump was cameras underneath. At that time, we were inspecting 100% vehicle check. 100%. The traffic was backed
morning
up.
Formation.
Well, we don't have morning formation.
Oh, well, you get Air Force guys. Yeah, don't join the Army guys. Join the Air Force.
You just show up at your work center. But there's a lot of civilians that work on those days because it's Air and Education and Training Command. So it's a training base. A lot of civilians and, of course, a lot of military. But it was like backed up for like seriously 3 to 5 miles. And we're checking every single vehicle inside, underneath. They had to slowly roll the car over the speed bump. Dude, it was incredible. And then we went to a system where like every hour it would change. Okay, you got to check every 5th car. Okay, now you got to check every other car. Basically, we kept changing it up so people couldn't time on when, they're going to get checked or not get checked. But it was this absolute mayhem. And we had a radio because at the first night I was at the hospital gate and we had the radio just listening to all the interview. The big interview was what was that big investment firm in the World Trade Center that lost like 300 people? I can't remember, but they were interviewing the head guy and the dude was just losing it. I was like, holy
he lost
crap.
almost all of his employees.
Exactly. God, I can't remember. Maybe someone in the chat might remember, but they were interviewing him. It was just
Cantor Fitzgerald.
That's the one. Yep. Thank you, Will. And it's just like, I thought, man, and then it was crazy because we were, when you have guard mount, that's when the first shift comes on, you have guard mount, everyone's in formation. And then the guy, the shift sergeant will come in. But at that time, it was the squadron commander for security forces giving the briefing, talking about, there may be a suspicious vehicle at Dallas Fort Worth. We don't know where they went. They might be heading to Sheppard Air Force Base. And all this crazy shit was going on. And the information that was coming in because no one knew what was going to happen. So right. Like I said, you had 7 people like at every gate. They had roving patrols with like 4 people in every car. So if anything happened, it was like people were Johnny on the spot. It was nuts. And one of the other, there was another time I got stuck out in the middle of the damn road and I had to guard this road. Just me. You know what I had? I had a Jersey barrier, a steel chair, my rifle, and my backpack with whatever the hell I wanted in it. Out in the middle. It was the eeriest.
Pogey bait. You had some.
It's weird
Pop-Tarts.
because the main base, you had this main base, and then you had this road that went out to what they call Egypt.
So
that's where all the NATO pilots were getting trained. That's where the actual quote unquote airfield part of the.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I read about that.
It was way out there, and in between is this only road to get out there, and that's where I was. So I'm out in the middle of the damn field, seeing coyotes and jackrabbits, but it was eerie because where I was at Sheppard Air Force Base. The air traffic for Dallas Fort Worth came right over the top, not a plane in the sky. It was just eerie because normally you see the planes are always flying, and it's just something that you're used to, and then you don't see it, and you're just like, man, this is freaking weird.
Something's missing, right? Yeah.
It was shut down. How long were they shut it down for? Like what? Almost a week, wasn't it?
Yeah. No planes. Everything was grounded. They were trying to figure out because they were still afraid there's other people out there doing weirdness still.
Oh, it was absolutely nuts. There was a hill out there. They had a sniper team sitting out there. I was like, man, this is real deal stuff. And this is September of 2001. There was nothing really going on in the world. Not a damn thing going on in the world.
Dude, no,
it
came out of nowhere.
Everything changed, especially in the United States military. So much changed at that time. Look, of course, it changed for the entire world, but I'm just speaking to where I was and what I was a part of at that time. Totally different. But before I get into that, Will, what was your experience on that unfortunately, that fateful day?
Well, see, I was a junior in high school. I was 17 years old. I was a member of the Air Force ROTC, JROTC, because I was actually thinking about joining the Air Force before everything kind of went down, but or before my path kind of diverted. And I remember waking up that morning and seeing it on the news, man. Like, what in the hell? 6 o'clock in the morning. By the time I woke up, Good Morning America was on, and we could see that the Twin Towers had been hit. And I remember thinking to myself, what in the hell is going on? And I remember my dad calling my grandfather and seeing if he saw this, because my grandfather lived through, he was World War II and Korea vet, and I think he was trying to make sense out of it all, because how did he feel during Pearl Harbor? Was this what this was like?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember catching the bus to school, and I got in trouble that day because somebody wanted to say that the Japanese had hit the World Trade Center, and
That's weird. That's weird.
Me being, well, I don't know. I think they were just trying to be a dick to me.
They were just messing with you, talking about Pearl Harbor, basically. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I went to a school. So just so you guys know, I went to a school with a bunch of cowboys and Mormons, and I was one of like maybe 6 people there that were part Asian and whatnot. So it was a little interesting. But anyway, so I got into a bit of a scuffle with him, and I got in some trouble. But I ended up, my first class was actually my ROTC class. And my colonel was, he was from Brooklyn. And I remember him coming out and he was crying. He had tears in his eyes. I had never seen him like that. This guy had done multiple tours in Vietnam as a C-130 pilot. And, I thought he was just a hardcore guy. Our senior master sergeant was a former PJ during Vietnam as well, and he was, I could see the look in his eyes, and he was just staring off in the distance, like he wanted to mess somebody up. Like we're at war, and that's pretty much what he told us. But the colonel came up there and he says, "Hey guys, I want to remind you one thing. The people who did this, they're extremists. They're not a reflection of the greater population of where they come from." And to me, that resonated a lot with me, because remember following those events, guess what was happening to people who looked like they were Muslim? They were getting their asses kicked in the street.
Yeah.
That was a rough time for those people. And I imagine that probably been a rough time during Pearl Harbor for the Japanese. They probably got their asses kicked too. And I know they did. But I mean, so and for me, that kind of solidified what I was going to do in my life, and I ended up doing was I was going to join the military. I felt like we were at war, and then when I saw the Twin Towers go down, I mean, the level of shock to everybody in the room. We watched it on TV. There was no class that day. I mean, we had classes, but we would go to class, but we were all watching the news. And when that thing came down, man, when those towers came down, that was it. Like that cemented everything for me. And then they eventually let us out early that day at 12 o'clock.
Yeah. Matter of fact, as you're speaking about this is the part where it was just like, just listen.
Look at that cloud, man. I mean, think about it. That debris had a kill radius of almost 3 blocks.
Got nowhere to go. You're pinned.
This is what the people from Pompeii are probably running from, you know? You know what I mean? Like, you don't know what the hell is in this.
Look at that. A lot of people died from that stuff too. After effects.
Yeah, and they're still dying.
Did you know? You know who was part? Oh, yeah, this one. Holy crap. This is. Wait, what is this? Just 1 minute here.
Ibrahim, you didn't I know you're from SAC. Did you go to Casa Robles, by the way, man? Because that's where I went, man. That would be super weird if you did, man. Yeah, man, dude, we were young men when that happened, Kyle. We were just young bucks. I remember going to my grandparents' house afterwards and talking to them about it because, you know, they haven't survived Pearl Harbor and whatnot. And I just wanted their opinion on the whole thing. I don't know. I think we were all searching for answers that day because there was no explanation for it, right? Like, why? Well, what's the, you know, I don't know. To this day, that's kind of still how I feel about it. I feel like I'm still searching for an answer. We know it was extremist and radical and whatnot, but I can still kind of feel that feeling again from when I first watched it. Like, what in the hell is going on? Why? It makes no sense. Marysville? Okay, right on. All right, so yeah, I went to school in Orangeville, California.
All right, here's something that's pretty poignant.
Down the road from Roseville.
Pretty interesting. Yeah, matter of fact, I was this is at that time I was stationed at Shepherd, but I was eventually stationed at Beale. But yeah, the Beale, of course, they did their thing, of course, when September 11th happened. All right, here we go. That was
someone yelled my name, and I can see my best friend, Captain Terry Hatton. So I ran into his arms, and I wrapped my arms around him, and he wrapped his arms around me, and I got lost,
Hey, Tom.
chest and his shoulder, and he leaned over and he kissed me on the cheek, and he said in my ear, "I love you, brother. I may never see you again."
Damn.
I tried to contact a few people, one of them, my union delegate, and I managed to get him on the phone. He was on his way there, and I believe I asked him, I said, how many cops and firemen do you think are gone? I'll never forget his word. He said, thousands. I said, thousands? And then I remember saying to myself, oh, you have to know somebody. How could you not know someone who's in those towers right now?
So every morning I come here to clean the park, make sure there's no debris, and then I'll stop here
Exactly, Carl.
and I'll say hi to my friend, my dear friend Ray, who we lost in May of 2017.
Damn, that messed him up.
Yeah.
You know, I sent you the audio yesterday, I think. Oriole Palmer. That guy was on a mission to try to find a way for these people to get down those stairs, and he climbed every single stair he was the first person to reach the level of where the planes had hit. And he reported in seeing multiple casualties and seeing all these people dying and dead and whatnot. But that guy was 45 years old, and he bolted up those stairs to go try to help people. And unfortunately, he was killed during the collapse.
Yeah.
The amount of sacrifice, and and I think out of that sacrifice was just Chief Oriole Palmer. Yeah, guy's a badass, man. But I think overwhelmingly the amount of unity that came out of that was just amazing.
I tell you what, this is something that I absolutely love. Sammy Sosa. You remember what Sammy Sosa did when they started playing baseball again? This was pretty impressive here. I love it. I love it, man. This is one
The,
thing.
the
You know,
Yankees game
even
was a
even
good
though
one,
Sammy
too.
Sosa, he got popped for steroids, all that stuff, but you know what?
And he bleached his face, looks white as
Yeah,
me now.
but
Anyways.
what he did here, I don't care what he does now. This is what it matters right here. This is awesome. Here we go.
And Sammy Sosa.
And he wasn't even an American.
He does
Nope.
every single day.
Not even an American.
Chicago.
I love it.
That's badass.
3-0 pitch. Swing and a
Crush
high
one.
ball
Crush
tipped
it.
all right. Back toward the track. Hit the wall. It is gone. Sosa hits it into the basket.
Oh, he got it.
And he's got Old Glory too.
That's pretty damn cool, man.
Remember too? Yeah, it does, Mark. Dude, that is so gnarly. You know, another good one too is the band at Buckingham Palace played
Yes!
the Star Spangled Banner,
Yes, they did that. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
and there was a whole crowd of English people there crying and weeping for our country.
59.
That was awesome. Hold on. Let me see something. Let me do a search on that. All right. If you
Yeah,
just
that
take
was-
care of the chap while I do this,
Yeah.
Will, if you could.
Let's see here. Didn't experience 9/11. Yeah, Audie, that was some. Oh yeah, Audie's one of those guys that probably wasn't around when it happened.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring in
Ibrahim, yeah, man. We
yes,
gotta bring
I'm gonna bring in
Ibrahim.
Abraham. Yes.
I want to hear what it was like to be a Muslim American at that time. That's got to be very interesting.
Where is hold on.
I think the chat probably want to know too, because man, there was a lot of hate, and yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, Mo. Everybody wanted to help. How can we help? Remember, the blood banks were overflowing with people trying to donate blood. The only issue was there's hardly any survivors.
Right.
There was no survivors. Remember on TV they had all those gurneys out there in front of the hospitals, but there was nobody to bring to the gurneys.
Yeah, they were
turned
all ready.
into-
They were all ready for casualties, but
I
none were
think
coming in.
for me as a medical guy, you know, being the fact that I was a medic and whatnot, I think that would have been heartbreaking for me. Like, you give me the skills to help save someone's life, but there's nothing I could do. You know, that had to have been so heartbreaking for all those medical professionals.
Oh, here it is
No.
right here.
Yeah, I am too, Benji. That's gonna be cool. We appreciate you, Ibrahim.
All right, here we go. This is the one you were talking about. Yeah, this was something.
That'll give you
This
some
was
chills,
something.
man. This
And a matter of fact, I think there was also some Navy ships out in the sea. I think there was a German Navy ship out there, and it was crossing by an American ship, and they had the American flag, and they were all out there rendering a salute. It was pretty awesome. I think there was a lot of that stuff was going on. All right, here we go. Day after 9/11, Queen Elizabeth II broke with 600 years of British royal tradition by having the
600.
royal band play the Star Spangled Banner during the changing of the guard ceremony at Buckingham Palace.
And played the Star Spangled Banner. Let's listen.
That's pretty damn cool.
Look at all those people. They're not even American. Oh man.
I know, dude. Gosh.
Holy smoke, man. it affected more than just us.
No, absolutely, 100%. It was a worldwide.
Ooh, that gave me chills, man.
I know it does, doesn't it?
I got goosebumps right now. Look at that. I mean, ugh, yeah, man. Oh, snap.
And this was huge. I'll tell you this. Let's see if right here, man. Holy crap. This was the symbology behind this one right here is just, this was just so awesome. You know where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember this.
This was so freaking awesome, man. Here we go. Game 3, 2001 World Series. This is when the World Series came back to New York because the first 2 games were in Arizona.
Right.
And here we go.
Ceremonial first pitch. And please welcome the President of the United States.
Look at that vigor. Walking with a purpose. The FDNY jacket.
Listen to the crowd.
America's game. And he throws a nice little strike there, too.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Man, dude.
Gosh dang, man. And then, of course, the most famous of all. Here we go. This is
He did throw a perfect pitch, Mo.
He did. He did.
He was a ball player in his day, I believe. I believe he was a ball player, actually.
Here is a very touching photograph that was
Benji.
snapped after the collapse of the towers.
The very first casualty, Father Judge.
That's what it is. The first recorded casualty the morning of 9/11 was Roman Catholic priest, New York Fire Department chaplain, Father Michael Judge. He was witness calling upon the Holy Spirit and absolving people as they fell to their death.
He had a heart attack when the towers were collapsing.
Yes.
They say that they could see him walking around the lobby of the South Tower.
Yes.
And he was praying. He was
Correct. He was praying for all the people
everybody.
because and here's another thing, guys. It's when you watch that National Geographic documentary in World Trade Center, the same people who were filming that Navy because he has because he's wearing white. I'm saying Navy that
Yeah.
the fire department. I can't remember. Is he a captain or I can't remember, but he was up there in rank. I'm not sure where he was. But he was,
the battalion chief. You're talking about the battalion
that's
chief.
what he was. Yes.
Chief Pfeiffer. Chief Pfeiffer.
They were the news people were with him during this whole time.
The French guys. Yeah.
Is that okay? That's what it was.
Yeah.
And as they're in there trying to figure out to establish a procedure of how to rescue, you could hear the bodies hitting the ceiling or hitting the
dude.
roof.
This sounds so
I was
sickening.
like, oh my god, dude! I'm like,
There's a
because I never
part
saw
in
that. I've never seen that footage before. And when they were playing
I've
that
seen-
National Geographic, it's just like, and that's when the priest again was going around and praying for those.
He
souls.
was praying for their souls to make it over.
Ah.
You know, in a situation like that, I would hope that the good Lord, and it's not up to us, obviously, but I hope the good Lord doesn't see it like a suicide. I hope there's some forgiveness there at the White Throne, but we'll find out when it's our time. But
Yep.
I remember also in that same documentary you're talking about, remember one of the firefighters after the North Tower collapsed, or was it the South Tower that collapsed first? I think it was the South Tower, right?
South Tower, even though it was hit second, it collapsed first.
Right. So it collapsed first, and he was trying to get out from the lobby, and another firefighter was across the street, and he goes, wait. And the reason why he was yelling wait is because somebody had just jumped, and it
Right,
landed
hit him.
right in front. Yep.
Yeah, that's
landed
in
right
that
front of him.
documentary. Yes.
Gnarly, man. Freaking gnarly, dude. Could you imagine being to the point of desperation to where that's like your only choice? I can't fathom that.
I can't fathom that. Honestly, I can't wrap that around my mind. I can't.
And then at 1,000
can't.
feet up in the air, I mean, that's a long time to think about it. your family, your life, what happened to you. You know, it's just.
It's not like it's
Oh
instant.
my.
It's not
No,
instant.
man.
And
That's
that's
just.
why I can't
Oh
I
shit.
can't fathom. I can't fathom that stuff. And of course, this is the last clip I'll play, and we'll get back to this here because this is
Roger that.
the one that this is the one that really got people going here.
Let's get him, George.
I want you all to know. Can't go any louder. I want you all to know that America today is on bended knee in prayer for the people whose lives were lost here, for the workers who work here, for the families who mourn. This nation stands with the good people of New York City and New Jersey and Connecticut as we mourn the loss of thousands of our citizens. I can hear you.
I can hear you.
I love this part.
I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you. And the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
There it is.
Man, that was something. That stuff that gets to me every time, man. Every time.
Another story that kind of sends chills down my spine is the chief security officer for the World Trade Center was a man by Rick.
He was a
Rescorla,
former Army. Yep.
Silver Star recipient during LZX ray. He was singing he's actually a Scotsman. He was an immigrant to the United States.
Yep.
And he was singing Scottish shanties to keep everybody calm while they were going down the ladder
And
well to
they
get out of the
said they
building.
talk about him in that documentary saying he ran so many exercises for people to vacate the building.
He predicted it. He thought it was gonna. He thought that was gonna happen, and
Especially
it sure
after, you guys got to remember, this wasn't the
93.
first time that the World Trade Center was targeted. In 1993, it was targeted with a huge bomb in the parking garage, and he understood that, and he learned lessons. So that's why he started having people do exercise. And they said people were getting
They
tired of it.
repainted the hallways and everything too.
There he is, Rick
Rescorla.
Rescorla, a Vietnam veteran and head of security at Morgan Stanley and the World Trade Center, ignored the Port Authority's instructions to not evacuate the building. His defiance saved all but 12 of his 2,700 employees.
Isn't that amazing?
And that's him.
Silver
course he didn't
Star,
work.
man. Silver damn Star.
Man.
If you ever watched the movie We Were Soldiers, he was one of the platoon leaders that was depicted in that movie. His unit, his platoon was one of the ones that was pinned down, getting withering fire.
Right. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Badass. Total badass.
Man. All right, here, let me throw out the link. And it's we could get a little bit more into the impact. Remember, it wasn't just the World Trade Center. Putting a link out there for you.
There were several other buildings went down.
You guys
with
got to
it.
remember, Pentagon got hit. A lot of people died at the Pentagon. The Flight 93, which is, if you haven't seen the movie, holy crap, fantastic movie.
Yeah,
Fantastic movie. As a matter of fact, did you know the guy who was playing the FAA guy that was talking about, what are we going to do with all the air traffic and all that stuff? One of the key characters in the movie, he was actually the guy during September 11th.
There was a guy on that plane who was instrumental in mounting the defense. He was a rugby player from Cal.
Yeah.
His name was Mark Bingham.
Yeah. Yep.
I happen to be Will Bingham.
And then you had that other guy. I can't remember his name. The guy who
Fucking
actually
badass, man. I played rugby too. I played rugby at Sac State.
who coined the phrase "Let's roll." Matter of fact, Air Force
Let's
planes
roll.
started painting that on their. Todd Beamer was the guy talking about. Are you guys ready? Let's roll.
Let's roll.
Unfortunately, I guess there was some weird stuff going on where we had to pull them off the planes, but whatever. All right, guys. With that, I'm gonna bring in Ibrahim. What is up, man? You're
Hey,
a loyal,
man, what's cracking, dude?
you're a loyal
Yeah.
listener, both on here and also
Yeah.
Giants Sports Talk Live. We appreciate it. You're awesome, dude. Appreciate you. Of course, you're going to have a little bit of a different story of September 11th, I can imagine. So you said you were in the 5th grade, right?
Yeah. 5th grade. We lived in Marysville at the time. I lived in Marysville until I was 18.
Oh, nice. Okay. Oh, you were in Marysville. I thought you were Yuba City. My bad.
Yeah. We if you go on 70
Yep.
outside of Marysville, like outside of East Marysville, it's called District 10. It's a bunch of walnut and peach orchards.
Yep.
And we have a peach orchard out there. Still have it. But
Cool.
it's kind of unique because the families that have lived there, they're all immigrants and they've all like our neighbors, the De Palmas, Italian, came with my grandpa. We're Pakistani. Our other neighbors, Indian. The Hadamiyas, they're Japanese. They're right up the road. The Rearmans came from Germany. Like if you want to sum
That's
up America
awesome.
in a nutshell, like it's
Kind
just
of like Arbuckle.
Yeah, we used to, when I was 14, we sold it, but we had an almond orchard out in Arbuckle.
Oh,
So,
nice, cool, man.
Yeah, we used to work out in the fields there. So
Well, here we go. Let's bring while we do this, just so people get an idea of what you're talking about. Here's Marysville, right? Well, Linda, you got Sacramento right here. Linda, but yeah. So where are you at? You're up in there's Benny Junction. I know that's
actually, if you put in 8900 Highway 70, you'll see the actual like District 10.
Highway 70. Where is that? That's 99. Oh, it keeps going up this way. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think it'll show up in the search too. If you put that address, like 8900 Highway 70 is our orchard. You'll see. There
it is.
California Highway 70. Yep.
Hey, there
that's
you
it.
are.
That's where we grew up, and that's all.
Inderbitson. That's the Germans, right?
Yep.
That's cool.
Yep.
Oh yeah, you're away. Okay, you're right. You're getting up there close to Live Oak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at
And
that.
so it backs up to the levee there, and
Do you guys still have the land out there?
yeah, still own it, still visiting.
Nice. That's awesome. I know there's a lot of rice up in this part. Is a lot of rice and orchards, right?
Oh,
Isn't there a lot of plums and prunes out there, right?
Yeah. So our orchard is half peaches and half plums, and we recently pulled the plums to put walnuts. But a lot of people hunt out there. Ron
Is it
Chandler,
less water? Just this to go out a little bit. Is it less water to use growing walnuts, or is it more?
Yeah, the reason people go to walnuts is they're more resilient. So
Gotcha.
If you have like in the summertime, if you've had a perfect harvest and you get one day of rain after a bunch of hot days in June, you'll ruin your peach crop.
Correct. Right.
so-
Man,
with-
this is such a coincidence, man. My family has owned a plum farm in Sendai, Japan, for like 400 years.
No way.
Nice,
What's crazy is the Hadamiyas that I grew up with. Their home on their property is built like a Japanese style. Like
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's
yeah,
cool,
so you
man.
go out in the middle of like the sticks in the countryside, and then you see
Mhm.
this like Japanese like estate. It's kind of cool. But-
That's pretty awesome. But yeah,
That's
I know there's a
badass,
big
dude.
Sunsweet factory out there in Yuba
yeah,
City,
that's where we
right?
used to drive.
Yeah,
I used to
yeah.
I used to drive the semi to like take.
Did
the,
you? That's awesome.
Yeah, distributor.
When,
Yeah.
when did you leave Marysville?
When I was 18, but
Or what year was that?
2010.
Oh, okay. I just showed up, man. I just showed up the Beal
Yeah.
in June of 2010.
Yeah,
Is when I got the Beal.
especially in like times like this where like everyone's so divided. Like growing up there, like I wouldn't trade it for anything. I mean, I think that's kind of like America in a nutshell. Like if you were to survey everybody there and their political leanings and everything, people would have preconceived notions of who those people
Right.
are, but
Right.
like they'd give you the shirt off your back, and I'm like a Pakistani Muslim dude, a devout one too, right? Like
Yeah.
and it's just, and generations, like grandkids went to school together, our grandparents went to school together, like but yeah, it's a cool place to grow up for sure.
Now, let's get into September 11th, because it couldn't have been easy. You just mentioned that, being Muslim, it's just like Will can relate to this too, being part Japanese, after
100%.
December 7th of 1941, the Japanese, especially here on the West Coast in California, Oregon, and Washington, They suffered again just because of their nationality. And a lot of these people were, second generation, third generation Japanese.
They didn't
They
see
have-
themselves as Japanese. They saw themselves as Americans.
Now, but here's the deal, all right? And it's a little bit weird with the Japanese. They were very successful farmers all
They
over
took
the
the
states.
land from the Japanese.
So it was a way for other people who were farmers to use that attack for their own, selfish reasons to an extent. It's
Right.
sad that it came to that, because they got, shipped off to freaking Montana and Wyoming in concentration camps. I think, right? Montana for sure. I can't remember. Nevada too, I think was
the desert,
another
Mojave
state.
Desert.
Yep. So with September 11th, it had to be kind of sort of. I mean, you guys didn't get put in concentration camps or nothing like that, but you had to have suffered just because of what you look like, what your religion was.
Yeah.
I mean, it had to have been difficult.
Yeah, so my family's from like the north of Pakistan, like near Afghanistan. So I'm fluent in Pashto.
Oh wow, that's cool, man.
That's up near Kashmir, right?
Yeah, it's near
Yeah.
Kashmir, and,
Khyber Pass area.
Yeah,
I think I put it in the chat, but one of our homes we still have a home out there in Eptabad, and that's where
that's
they
cool.
killed Osama.
Right.
And his compound was like 2 blocks from our home. So
No kidding. Oh wow.
and nobody knew he was there. Oh, it gets worse, dude. But yeah, it's just I remember
Oh,
it
man.
was I was in the 5th grade, and
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Did you go to the public schools there?
yeah, I went to Covalot Elementary, and we got pulled aside, like, hey, this is what's happened. Planes have hit the World Trade Center. We're all going to gather by the flagpole. Principal is going to give a speech. So we went out there, and they gave us the rest of the day off. And my dad picked me up, and he was really down. And I was like, "What's the matter?" Like, I heard, I didn't know, I hadn't seen any footage or anything. So and he was like, they think, Muslims were responsible. And he's like, you may want to be a little bit more quiet about, what we are, who we are, what we do. And I didn't get it. I mean, I was in the 5th grade. So I was just like,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you're only what, 10 years old? Something like that?
I was like, I mean, I didn't do it. Like I identify, I'm like, I'm an American through and through. Like, I don't see how.
Exactly.
But it just got very different after that. Friends I used to hang out with, their parents said you can't hang out with them anymore. We started doing a lot of, patriotic stuff at school. I think that's pretty common. They used to play a lot of military tunes at recess, and we'd all say the Pledge of Allegiance at the major big flagpole outside instead of in the classroom. Everybody would always talk like that's the one, because it was Marysville. For those that don't, small town, it's mostly
it
girls.
is.
I was the only Muslim kid in school, and so you get stared at a lot. And I will say, like, if you talk to any Muslim person my age or older, we all identify our life in America as pre 9/11 and post. So
that makes sense. That
makes sense.
And I'd imagine for the Japanese that lived through Pearl Harbor, it was very similar. There was for that and after, but yeah, it was. And then it's to this day, I get selected a lot for the TSA screenings, but you have so many mixed emotions, right? Because
right,
terrible atrocity occur, and then you feel like, wow, like what could they see in our faith that would drive them to do something that terrible? That's not the faith I grew up on. Like, I went to Sunday school and everything, so it just, you have all the feelings.
And that's the key right there. And I think people need to understand the difference here. Look, there's bad people in every religion. There's bad people in every nationality, but that doesn't define who those people are, right?
Exactly.
September 11th doesn't define you as a Muslim, right? Just like me being a Christian, the Crusades don't determine who I am as a Christian, right? And it's sad that you have these select few who creates such an event where it affects an entire faith for no reason, right? You know what I'm saying?
And
Because it's
looking
especially
back
in
on it
America,
now-
you know, you should understand, but you don't, because the problem is when an events like this happen, everybody just it's knee-jerk reaction, it's immediately emotional, and
100%.
unfortunately horrible things happen. And now, look, I'm not justifying it by any means in any way, shape, or form, but it's just fear does that to people, and that's the
Yeah.
scary part. Once
Fear
you get
and
that fear, you're just you almost lose control of
Fear,
any semblance.
anger, vengeance.
fear, anger,
Yes,
to some extent, duty. I mean, you know, you
Right.
feel like, you
And
know,
that,
hey,
you know what? Actually, that's probably a better way of putting it. Ibrahim is probably duty. I think people felt the need to protect their nation, and it came off probably the wrong way. And
Yes.
yeah, I don't even think it came across the wrong way. You know, there for as like I think Will, you mentioned, you know, your colonel mentioned they were extreme, and you know they don't represent a whole group. And I think GW at the time came out and
he
said,
he
you
said the
know,
same thing.
this
He had
isn't
to, because
representative.
people like you were getting beat in the streets, dude.
Well,
Like,
what was interesting is so my dad, he is a mechanical engineer, and he spent most of his life in aerospace.
man,
And
dude.
so he worked at Aerojet.
Audie's
for-
also
Aerojet
aeronautical
in Sacramento.
Yeah, he worked there for about 25 years, and he actually designed the thrusters on the F-22 Raptor. And
That's badass,
No
bro.
kidding.
yeah, I mean,
That's
like he was a
badass.
part of the team that did it. But
You put the thrust vectoring.
mhm. And so and then they worked on the Titan, the rocket. But now he's at a place that does drones. But he
Hey.
they actually revoked his clearance when that happened, and because he had a top
Makes
secret
sense.
security
Got a
clearance. and-
TS. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were like, "Hey, like, you know, this is everyone is, you know, all over the place. You know, we just need to put a hold on things." And I think they didn't officially revoke it at the time. They just
Like
said, "We're going to
suspended.
take you off." Yeah, they from a company perspective, they just took them off everything. Like, go home, do you? And then yeah, like it was a very weird time. I mean, I used to go every Sunday. Well, not Sunday, it was Friday for us, but every Friday evening, it was like a Quran class you read. It was like Bible study. And
Right.
the mosque was out on Terra Buena. And I remember for like solid 2 months, people would drive by, like moon all the kids, like reading. One guy came, like literally sat there for an hour, burned Qurans. They had like a cop come out. and
Westboro Baptist Church doing that shit.
yeah,
too,
yeah.
man.
And like, you know, you know, as angry as you think you'd be, you're kind of like, well, like if I wasn't Muslim, I mean, would I feel, I can't say I wouldn't feel angry, you know, like it's easy to say, hey, don't judge a whole group, but I mean,
Right.
there's a very
100%,
human
yeah.
reaction, right? Like,
And you know
Right,
what's
right.
it had to been really difficult for you. You grew up an American, right?
100%,
That-
yeah.
You
100%.
grew up an American. You understand what it was meant to be an American. Your faith just happens to be Muslim. That's it. So
Yeah,
and
you
here's the-
had to have had a huge conflict of, okay, yeah, I'm American, but I'm also Muslim. But these people who, you know, who are maybe against me because of my faith, but I'm just as patriotic as they are.
Right.
Right. And that had
Yeah.
to, how was it with your family? How did your parents handle this stuff? I mean,
So
were they pretty strong
They had
enough
to
to
be.
be able
They had to feel
keep-
kind of betrayed.
Yeah.
to keep you protected, because you were only in the 5th grade? It had to have been
Yeah.
hard for your parents.
I think my dad is like came here when he was 7, very, you know, educated, doesn't have an accent, all that. My mom is she has a heavy accent, speaks English, but is very bashful about it because she doesn't feel strong in her English speaking skills.
Right.
And I remember like they were just like, you know, because so here's the other thing I think a lot of people forget about. You'll know it when I say it, but with Muslim people, it's kind of unique to our religion. Is as a man, right? You might see the long beards, but for men, it's very easy to not look Muslim, right? Like you shave your beard, and you pass for anything, right? For the women that choose to wear the hijab,
They
like
stand out.
there aren't too many religions where you can that obviously like identify someone, right? And so for the women, it was like my mom, she was just like, am I being un-American if I wear this? Like this is part of my
Mm,
faith, but am I insulting, the country as a whole if I'm wearing it?
wow.
Like,
Yeah,
she was
yeah.
very conflicted on that. Like,
Yeah.
my intent is not, I'm just trying to follow my faith, but am I rubbing it into people? Like,
Right.
that's not my goal. So, um, it was just, it's just very, it's just bizarre. Just fast forward, like, what was it, 2007? I was in high school. I was a sophomore. And like I've never been in trouble a day in my life, like straight A student in high school, straight A student in college, and I get called in to the principal's office, and there's two police officers there, and the principal's there, and like I was laughing, like, oh, did I win something? And they're like, no, this is very serious. Sit down. And I'm like, oh, I don't know, like, did I do something? And I guess a week prior, I had said something in a class. I was like, "Ah, man, I'm gonna bomb this test," and somebody reported me, right?
Oh God.
And and so they ended up like searching my locker and all that stuff, and they were like, "Hey, like, don't use that language." Like, I was like, "Other people say that." I'm like, they're
Just
like,
making
"Yeah,
a
but
joke, man. Like,
yeah,"
come on.
they're like, so yeah, it's just little things like that, but you're just really conflicted, man. It's just
Yeah, yeah.
like because like there are plenty of people that are proud Americans, love this
Right.
country, but they're just most like the faith they practice. It doesn't mean that they agree with what
It doesn't mean
occurred
you're
on.
un-American. Just
Yeah,
because
Right.
you have a faith that's not Protestant or Catholic doesn't mean you're not American. That's
And,
the
and that's
problem.
one thing too that as I got older in life as a Christian, I'm a Protestant. I'm a Presbyterian by faith. But I realized that we actually Muslims and Christianity have more in common than
100%,
than everybody else thinks they have.
100%.
Muslims accept that Jesus existed, and there's a certain group of people out there don't accept that, but I'm not going to say what it is. But but you know what I'm saying? Like there's more in common than not.
100%. Yeah.
And and again, not everybody is a radical. And I think that time frame, people were just
And honestly,
I-
it would have happened no matter if it was a bunch of Germans. The Germans
Yeah.
would have been persecuted.
It
just
was.
they
happened
would
to
have gotten
be.
their asses
Yeah.
kicked too. Yeah, 100%.
You-
100%. Yep, I agree.
I mean, if you
You-
think about it right now, let's think about one thing that is prevalent here, if I'm not mistaken, in California, because I think there's a Russian contingent again from a long time ago. When the Bering Strait.
Actually, Sacramento has the most Russians and Ukrainians.
I
in the
bet you,
world.
I would not be surprised that there's probably a lot of Russians who are suffering some backlash for the simple fact that their country that they originate from is part of a war right now, even though they're innocent. And again, this is with just any war, any kind of conflict. Unfortunately, the civilian population, they get involved in it. It sucks.
Right.
But that, unfortunately, that's what happens in war.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, it's tough because unfortunately you had to suffer some of that for the simple reason of what happened on September 11th.
Just to
I mean,
breathe in air.
But
yeah,
but I mean, like I think if you talk to most of they get it. They're just like, well, yeah, I mean, like, because you're angry yourself. He's passed away now, but it sounds silly to say it, but one of the biggest, kind of safety valves like the Muslim population had was Muhammad Ali, right? Because he was probably the most recognizable, Muslim in the world, and so he came out and they did that 9/11 fundraiser, and I remember like watching that, like, oh man, like, okay, so I can still be Muslim and not be like a bad American,
correct.
So, because it sounds silly to say that now, but when you're a kid, you're like, well, shoot, like, everybody's telling me you're a bad person if you're, you believe in this faith that drove people to hijack planes and kill all these innocent people. And You know, and but you know, Eric, you're in Galt, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you're familiar with how big the Pakistani population is in Lodi.
It's a pretty large
It's
one.
huge. I know
But-
exactly where it's at. It's right there by the
Pretty large
matter
one.
of fact, a bunch of produce packing is right there.
Yeah,
It's right off
yeah,
of
that's
Well,
what
Stockton
PCP
Mongs
is.
Boulevard.
too. Mongs
Stockton
and
Boulevard.
Pakistani, yeah.
Yep, and that's
Stockton
where
Boulevard.
that's where
Yeah.
PCP is, which is actually where we sell our
PCP.
pizzas.
Yep.
But they if you guys, I think the guy's name was Hamid Hayat. They did
He
a
got-
Netflix. Yeah, you know where I'm going.
He was
here.
under investigation. Wasn't he
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
Ice Cream Man or something
Yeah,
like that?
Yep.
And so one of my cousins was friends with him, and I remember like distinctly going to visit my cousins in Lodi, and they live off of Harney Road, and there would literally be these unmarked cars that would just follow us around. Like we'd be going to the stores, and then they'd follow, and eventually they got him, and he got released, I think.
He was
They-
exonerated.
Yeah, he
Right?
was exonerated, and
It was all
they did
bullshit.
what spurred the interest in it again was I forget the Netflix show that did it, but there was a Netflix show where they did an episode on him, and that got people interested again, and got the momentum go. But you
Literally.
still see shades of it. I mean, you still see shades of, when you're on a plane, right? Like when I talk to my mom in our native tongue on the way back to Pakistan or something, you get looks, and so you try to be mindful of not making people uncomfortable. I used to pray in school all the time because we pray 5 times a day, right? I stopped doing that after 9/11. It was just, because it made people uncomfortable. I fast during Ramadan. I stopped like breaking my fast in front of people because
Oh my gosh. See? That's
so
it sucks that you have to do that though, because you should be able to still be able to practice your faith. Just because you're practicing your faith doesn't mean you're going to go out there and do something harmful. It's just, what is absolutely, hey, I'm going to tell you something here. This was absolutely fantastic. When I was an instructor at Shepherd Air Force Base, there was a time when I got to instruct 2 Kuwaitis from the Kuwaiti Air Force, and I got to instruct a Saudi Air Force guy. And when the Saudi Air Force guy was there, I felt so bad for him. It was
that
during,
must have been a trip.
he was awesome. The dude was smart as a whip, even though, because, we're teaching in English and everything. So they had to have a very full understanding of the English language, but it was during Ramadan. And every 50 minutes we would have a break, right? And all these kids, they're going to the break room and they're coming back into the classroom and eating their snacks. And poor guy has to sit there and watch them eat and everything because no one understands what he's doing. But because it's Ramadan, he couldn't eat. He had to wait until sundown. And but it was awesome because he also had his prayer rug. So he would go in, because when we go into the lab, he'd go out to his prayer rug and we'd let him, he'd go out there and do his prayers. It was very respectful of his up, but I learned a lot just by being able to instruct him, learned a lot of stories. And that was an experience I'll never forget. I mean, just being, again, like I think I said this the other night, the experiences that I've been able to have to be able to interact with these different people has just helped me as a person. And it's just, it's hard to imagine, I guess it's not hard to imagine, but as we were talking earlier, when you get fear enters the equation, everything changes.
People do some
Everything
crazy shit.
changes. I mean, just recent history with COVID. I mean, people got nuts over
Oh,
COVID.
dude, it's still
I mean,
going
people
too.
losing their minds over
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah.
And it's like that with any situation. Again, if we have
Right.
another tragic event where,
Right.
whatever nationality is involved, it's again, because of fear, people will start
I
lashing
had
out.
when I was stationed at Fort Lewis, I had 2 soldiers in my squad. I actually had probably one of the most diverse squads ever. I had Africans and I had Muslims in my squad too. And when it was Ramadan, they would come to me, "Hey Sergeant, we got to go do this. We got to go pray." I'm like, "Do whatever you got to do, man. I don't give two. You got to, that's what you believe in. Go do it, man. I'm not going to question it." And it was pretty cool. And so afterwards, once we got off of work and sundown came, it was around like 8:00 p.m. or something. No, a bit later than that actually. Well, what's the last call?
No, it's just when sun goes down, not when it gets dark. It's just when
But-
sun
but
goes down.
I would take them to Burger King.
Nice. So I'm guessing you
man.
did your parents ever confide in you and like, hey, really had to sit down and talk and say because of September 11th,
Sam
and
was
you know, did you?
crazy.
I mean, there had to been some discussions, even
Yeah.
maybe even among your community. I would guess that. You
Oh
know,
yeah, for sure. They like I think it was the only time like I have a lot of I don't judge. I mean, like
Yeah.
there's like any religion, there's a scale of how practicing you are, and some people choose to wear the headscarf, some don't. Some choose to keep a beard, some don't. To
Yeah.
each their own. But it was the first time I saw a lot of people in my family they do wear that. They just stopped. They were like,
yeah.
you know, because they were like, you know, it's just you get called names, and so yeah, we
Is that where the difference you're talking about pre and post 9/11?
Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha.
You'll see a lot of families where that just changed. And you know, my parents sat us down like, hey, I think was it like 2 weeks after they sent us to school with these U.S. flag pins on our backpack because they were like, we want people to know like we're one of the good ones, right? Like that was
Gotcha.
the common, you know,
Yeah.
because you know at the time, and you got to remember too, like you know now it seems like everybody's got a phone and everybody's got social media and everybody's got YouTube. Like you can look into and research whatever you want, right? Back then, I
Back
mean,
then, yeah, it was different.
it was still, you know, to get educated, it's what you heard, it's what you saw, it's what you were told. The media had a lot more control on
Correct.
narratives.
If you really wanted to learn, you had to go to a library.
Or you had to seek out knowledge for yourself. It wasn't like, hey, let me pop open Twitter and
Correct.
okay,
Right.
yeah, okay, not all of them are bad or whatever, you know. And so unless you had Muslim people in your community, it was, you know, you didn't know. But yeah, I remember we had our mosque, we had several discussions. So the Yuba City Mosque, my dad helped build it, helped design it. They built an original one in the 90s. And then, Eric, you alluded to the first World Trade Center attack. When that happened, they actually burned that down. Yeah, it was burned down. Yeah.
Holy.
And they never caught the guy that did it. But it was largely believed to be, you know, some sort of retribution. But so I remember in 2001 when 9/11 happened, like we would all take shifts, like sleeping outside the mosque just to make sure it didn't burn down. Yeah, 93.
Wow.
I don't know when it was.
1993.
And it may
It
have
was October, if I'm not mistaken. That for some reason that rings the
around the
bell.
same time. Yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah, it was just different. It was just you know, and you still see it like back in the day, like way back. I mean, people used to pray on planes, like they'd pop out their prayer mat and pray. You'll never see that now. I mean,
I bet.
Yeah,
Right.
you're not going to see that now.
How did the teachers treat you? They were pretty respectful and they had no issues at school.
You know, surprisingly, a lot of them were kind of assholes. You know, because
sucks, dude.
Yeah, because we were, you know, because it was they all good old boys, right? And so they were.
Yeah, I remember that experience.
Yeah, and so you know, it was just like, you know, I mean, it's whatever. I was there to learn, so I just went about my day. But
I feel I did the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it. You know,
sounds like you had some pretty strong character to be able to. Because a lot of people, I don't know. Did you ever get bitter about the way, or you just were? Hey, I have a goal, and I want to achieve this goal. I'm not going to worry about the noise.
Yeah, I mean, so not to get personal, it's unrelated, but like I have a very rare lung disease. It's very similar to cystic fibrosis. I got diagnosed very late in life. And I've never really liked the whole victim mindset, right? Like if you tell yourself you can't do something or there's a reason you should be able to not do something, you won't do it, right? So
Gotcha.
Don't give yourself excuses, right? So that was kind of
like it.
Always my mindset was like, all right, like I can't control what people think of me, what people want to assume, right? All I can control is I can try to educate. I can try to be, you know, a good, you know, person. Maybe people will see that, say, hey, you know, these people aren't so bad, you know, like they're just
you're
like
being
us.
an ambassador. That's what you're being. I like that. That's
like,
awesome.
Yeah, just you control what you can control, but no, and then I want to be clear, like for every handful of people that were hateful, or a million people were kind, considerate, caring. like, hey, you guys doing okay? Do you need anything? This is wrong. Like, but yeah, it's just I think that's always the forgotten part is, 9/11, your heart obviously always goes to the victims that perished in the actual towers, but then all the rescuers that passed, 20 years
Afterwards.
later from cancer, and then,
Correct.
and then you think of, all the people, like there were a bunch of Muslims that were murdered, like in the aftermath of 9/11,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So there are a lot. It wasn't just that day, you still feel the impact. There are loved
It's
ones that are just
it's
gone
what
from,
happened afterwards.
first responders that developed, lung issues, and it's just, and not to get political, but then you look at how the country's treated those people, and their
Correct.
health care and all. It's just, yeah, I
Right?
mean,
Yeah.
I smell what you're stepping in.
yeah, and so that's on a day like today, like forget all the Muslim stuff. You just think of like how bad it must be, right? You lost a loved one or whoever on that day, if you were one of the people that was unfortunate enough to have lost them. Then on top of that, you have to see others try to profit off of your tragedy, right? Like
Correct.
that's and you two both served. So and thank you for your service, but you two both served. I
Honor and
mean,
privilege.
you actually, you put skin in the game, right?
Mhm.
So to see people that are unrelated to that try to profit off of, a tragedy
Yeah, right,
and
right.
not be impacted, it's just, yeah, it's, so it's,
One thing I had in my platoon, when I was a squad leader, I was also a platoon sergeant. I had Muslims in my squad, like I said before. I remember one day we had a guy in my unit, and he was talking about, he just came back from deployment, and he was talking about killing Haji. And I said, hey man, you better be careful. We got a couple of guys in our unit here right now that are Muslim. And
Hey, Will, bring either your mic forward or sit back. There you
Oh,
go.
can you hear me
There,
now?
that sounds well better. Way better. There you go.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, it's all
Anyway,
good.
so my bad, dudes. So anyway, I had a couple of guys in my squad that were Muslim. They were actually Tunisian, and one of the guys came back from deployment, and he was talking about killing Haji and whatnot, and he was kind of glorifying it and whatnot. And I said, dude, this ain't the time and place for that. And there's no glory in none of that. There's no war is war. War is ugly, and we don't need to bring it home right now. We got a couple of guys here who are trying to serve. They were trying to earn their citizenship. Actually, they're trying to become Americans.
Hmm.
And I actually got really freaking pissed off when he said that, because I just knew how hard these guys were able to work as soldiers. They were some of my best soldiers. My best soldiers were always foreigners for every reason. I think it's because they wanted to be American. I think it was just that drive in them. And they worked their asses off, and I hated to see that, dude. Like, that pissed. Oh, okay. I gotta stop. I'll start cussing. I don't want to cuss, man.
but
But
what
you
you're
know, you smell when I'm stepping in. I mean, like,
Yeah.
obviously I get it. There's an enemy out there, but like, don't include everybody in that bullshit.
Yeah,
Right.
what's often forgotten too is if you ask a lot of the they would be the first ones that would tell you we want to go over there and get whoever did this.
100%, dude.
Because
They were the
it's like-
first to respond. Most of
Like-
them.
Like you ruined it for a billion people in the world. You
Mhm.
ruined it for all the millions of, your actions, for better or worse, intentional, like your
The
actions.
largest religion in the world.
You went in and
Almost.
now you've put this
Almost.
stigma on it, and that's why, like, I've never had any hatred or vitriol for anyone that maybe has a preconceived notion, because I can't say if the roles were reversed that I wouldn't feel the same. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd like to say I wouldn't, but I don't know. I
Right.
mean, I haven't walked a mile in those shoes, right? So,
Right.
But the common denominator is you wouldn't do it because of your religion. You would do it because of the situation that happened, right?
100%.
It's it's not like, oh, I'm Christian, so and it's not like that. Or yeah, it's because you were attacked as a nation, not
Yeah.
because quote unquote a religion. Did you ever go on a Hajj?
I haven't yet. My parents have.
Do you
But-
plan on doing it?
Yeah, it's obligatory if you can afford it and you're of.
Oh yeah, I
of
heard
good
it's
health.
not cheap. A
Yeah,
matter
and
of
if-
fact, I
you're
had
good
there
health.
was a guy in He was in the Air Force. Matter of fact, when I was deployed, I was TDY. He was our supply guy.
TDY.
He was actually from Morocco, and he talked about how he did that, and it was fascinating. That where he went on, he had showed the pictures where you're dressed all in your white, right? It's pretty like, yeah, you're supposed to do it at least once in your lifetime, right?
Yeah. If you're of sound health and have the money, yeah.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, I heard it's not. I heard it's expensive, and it's there's a physical toll on that too, right? Where you have to.
Yeah. That's what's usually kept me from doing it.
And what
there's a Christian equivalent of that in Ethiopia. That's pretty interesting.
Really?
I thought about doing that, but man, it gets so hot over there. I'm like, bro, I'm gonna pass out.
Well, there's a pilgrimage. There's a pilgrimage all over Europe. As a matter of fact, when I was in Portugal, there's a pilgrimage where you.
Yeah, you did the pilgrimage to. Yeah, that's right.
Where you could go to Lady of Fatima, and then at the end, you got to get on your knees and walk on your knees all around it. And when you're done, your knees are bloody. It's just it's pretty intense.
In the
I get zapped on a Protestant.
There's I forget the number. I won't give a number because I'll probably get it wrong, but a good number of people die each year doing it.
They had 600 people died this last year, right?
Yeah, because when you do the tawaf, which is when you circle the Kaaba, you get crushed because everybody's trying to get closer and closer and closer. But yeah, I mean, I think one thing though, to go back to the 9/11 thing is just I think the biggest thing that came out of that long term was, it sounds obvious now, but at the time, people forgot that, being Muslim and being American are not mutually exclusive. And that got really conflated at the time.
Right.
And, it's, it was kind of forgotten that, all the Muslim Americans, like, their heart broke because their country got attacked. Like, it was our, we see it as our country, right? Like, our country got attacked, not, it wasn't like, oh yeah,
Yes, because people thought you must hate America because of your religion, right? But that's the furthest from the truth. It's the furthest from the truth. And it's great that you're coming on here and being able to discuss that type of stuff, because people need to understand that just because you are a certain faith does not preclude you from being an American or wherever 100%. You may live.
Eric, and you talked about this before about being in the military. One of my greatest joys of being in the United States Army as an NCO is I had troops from everywhere around the world. Mm-hmm. And the guys who were the best soldiers that I ever had were immigrants, man.
Mm. But I've like I said, I've had the pleasure. I served in a NATO unit. Here I am. I was an E6. I was an Air Force E6. I'm not going to get it. Let's just say I was in the military. I was at NATO. I was in charge of German civilians, Dutch civilians, Spanish civilians, Turkish civilians. I had a couple of Italian equivalent of chief master sergeants who I was their boss. It was weird, but being able to just listen and understand where they're coming from and how they think and their work ethic. It was just an amazing experience. Those 3 years when I was stationed in Germany were pretty amazing. Some of it was really difficult, especially when I'm working with the civilians, the guys who have been there for they were on this base for 30 years, and they're used. And you know what I'm saying? When an American comes in, a brand new American comes in, they know we're only there for 3 years. Right. So they already look down upon you, not because I'm an American, but because they know I'm just going to be here for 3 years. And if I try to rock the boat anyway, it's going to create issues for them because they're used to doing it their way. They're just stuck in their way. So it was a little bit difficult. The mindset I took in, I didn't go in there and say, he's like, hey, I'm here for 3 years. I'm not trying to freaking change anything just to say for the sake of change. That's not who I am. I want to run an efficient organization here. You guys know how to do it. So I'm going to lean on you guys, and I'll have your back, whatever it needs to be, long as we're, doing it within the rules. But when I was stationed in Germany, we had a chance to go visit Egypt. Again, this was just a family trip. Went into Egypt, took a trip down the Nile. But when we were in Cairo, one of the things that we were going to do, we were able to visit this is in Cairo, They had a synagogue, they had a Coptic church,
Yeah,
and they had a mosque. So we went
pretty
and
cool.
visited all three of those places, and it was a fascinating experience because just learning. Matter of fact, the synagogue that we're in, it was like 100 yards away is where Moses was found on the Nile. And then the Coptic church, they had a
That's
window
cool.
down below, and they said that's where the Holy Family had spent the night one night. Mother Mary, Joseph and baby Jesus. And then, of course, you go to the synagogue, and that was one of the first synagogue because it was, I'm trying to remember, not synagogues, one of the oldest mosques in Cairo.
Yeah.
It was established in like the 7th century, because that's when the Muslim army showed up. Is like, what, 639, something like that.
Right.
But
yeah.
it was absolutely fascinating being able just to learn the different, is it going to change my faith? No, it doesn't change my faith. But you know what? I got a better understanding of what other people believe in. Doesn't make them any less, doesn't make them any better. You're just learning, because that's what people need to do, is they need to just understand. Doesn't mean you got to change them. They got to believe in what you want to believe in. Ultimately, it's all about just having respect for everybody. Hey, believe what you want to believe.
100%, dude. Exactly. Just being a proper human, man.
A proper
It's
human.
It's just kind of fitting.
Holy
too.
shit. Is that so hard? I guess it is.
It's just kind of fitting too, like, being an election year and everything, regardless of which way you lean, on the anniversary of 9/11, right? I hate when things happen for nothing and there's no value gained out of it. But if you
Right.
live through 9/11, like the unity of this country after that event, it's a shame that it took something that tragic and people lost their lives for it, but it wasn't in vain. Like the unity
No.
that this country had after that, I've never seen that since. I mean, I haven't seen it since. I haven't seen it come close to that. And, you think about that and you're like, it does give you some hope, right? Like, and I hope on the remembrance of this day and everyone that lost their lives and everyone that's dealing with some sort of struggle as a result of it. When you kind of lose hope in the country or where it's going, or, nasty rhetoric or whatever you want to go with, there's more of us that get along regardless of faith, regardless of creed, regardless of color, regardless of race, of anything. And we're all on the same team, right? We all love the same country. We all, call
There
it
you go.
home. I mean, and it's kind of the further removed we get from 9/11, it doesn't reduce how tragic it was, but it becomes more of a day of unity and remembering who we are as a country and the best of us as opposed to the worst of us, right? Like, and for me personally, like on a day like today, that's the first thing that I always think of is, that's kind of been the story of this country forever. Anytime we get hit with adversity, it's always, we come back stronger, we come back more united, we come back better. And
Absolutely, Ibrahim. You said it perfectly. That's one thing that is within the blood of being American. Even though you get knocked down, you come back stronger. That 100%. And this is something that I've said on the show, especially during this election cycle, is
Right.
we got to have some damn civility, and we've lost that right now. And I've said this a million times. It's like, it almost feels like you have to have something like 9/11 to galvanize the country again. And it's a shame that that's what it has to be like, because you mentioned something about 9/11. Look, even though it was full of tragedy, a lot of human suffering, unimaginable in the United States, and then the aftermath. I mean, the invasion of Afghanistan, the invasion of Iraq. I mean, the whole world changed. It wasn't just, in the United States and in the Middle East.
3,000 people.
It was
on those.
the entire globe. But
Right.
even though all that happened, there were acts of kindness. There was acts, like you said, of unity, where people came together for the quote unquote the greater good. And right now, unfortunately, you're not seeing a whole lot of that. And what is it going to take? I don't know. Honestly, Ibrahim, it kind of sucks, because as a human race, it just seems like here we are in 2024, getting pretty damn close to 2025. Are we any better than we were when civilization first began? It's kind of, what I'm saying? Sure, we got the technology, but how are we treating each other as people? It just, it seems like we're going more backwards than we are going forwards. And
right. We're de-evolving rather than
and
evolving.
Is it because of this? To a certain extent, it is.
Oh,
Right.
100%. 100%. You
That's
get
what it is,
you get
dude.
your own tailored worldview. Like whatever you
That's what it
believe,
is.
you
Yes.
you listen to and watch whatever aligns with your belief and
Correct.
confirmation bias, and regardless of sides or whatever, it's
Right.
it's just you told me, and when I was in the 5th grade, my dad picked me up that, hey, 24 years from now or 23 years from now, that day is going to be, there's going to be something positive that comes out of it. I wouldn't believe you. I would say that how could anything positive come out of something so horrific? But also like the enlistments, right? Like, didn't they go through the roof? Like,
I went through the roof.
And, dude, that solidified my choice in life. I ended up spending 8 years in the military because of it.
And think of how many families, like Will, like, you think of how many families are impacted by that, whether they, they became military families and their pride in, our armed forces.
Well, like I was telling Eric yesterday in the green room, I think I even said it before on the actual show yesterday. It's kind of like a teaser, if you will. But I remember, when people would die in Iraq and Afghanistan, and they would come into the classroom to say, hey, do you know so-and-so? Does anybody here know so-and-so? And this is when I was in high school. And I was a senior at the time. And I remember one time, one of my best friends from ROTC, he was an Army Ranger. He was killed in Fallujah. And they came into the classroom. They said, hey, do you know Nicholas Scheider? And I said, yep, that's my buddy. And so they brought me over to a counselor. They sat me down and said, hey, he was killed in Iraq today, and this and that. And I was like, you know what, man, I got to join. I got to do something. And I went over to the Army recruiter, and I wanted to be a Ranger too. And I brought home a contract from the Army, and my dad said, bullshit, you're going to college. He goes, you're not going to sign this. I said, okay. He goes, if you want to join the military after college, you can do that. So I ended up joining after I went to school. But man, definitely 9/11 definitely solidified my opinion of what I was going to do with my life as a young man in my 20s. And I spent the majority of my 20s in the military, and I don't regret it.
Yeah, it was during that time. I mean, it was incredible because it happened in September 11th. I wound up stopped being an instructor in December. I wound up getting orders to go to Korea, so I went to Korea, then came back to Travis. But one thing that the effects that it had on the military was, of course, the enlistments just went through the roof. But it had to, because the ops tempo went through the roof. People, you want to talk about an effect, not just war fighting, but being away from your families. Depending on what type of job you did in the military, you could be gone for a year. You come back for a year, and then you're back on the road again for a year, and then you're back. I mean, it was bad. I mean, it's if you wanted to try to raise a family, it was not easy, depending on the job that you had. So that also had an effect. And again, a lot of that was in a response because of what happened in September 11th. So it was just the snowball effect that it had of September 11th, and again, I'm just speaking from the military side of things, but I mean, look at people's everyday lives. I mean, trying to tell, oh goodness, great. Do you remember how it was right after September 11th, trying to fly somewhere? You had to get to the airport like 4 hours before your plane left. You got to damn near disrobe, you know what I'm saying? Just to go through the freaking security. Oh, it was a mess. A mess.
Oh, man, dude.
I mean,
Life
and that
changed so much.
for years.
And now
That
you got the
lasted for
government
years.
spying on you. They have everything you do on your phone is recorded for
Patriot
all
Act.
of history.
Patriot Act was a disaster. That's a story for another day.
Yeah,
But that's where you get the government overreacting, knee-jerk reactions. Hey, we got to protect the citizenry. So guess what? You guys have no rights anymore. I mean, it got a little bit nuts with the Patriot Act. I understand why they did it, but you got to. Unfortunately, you just don't think with clear heads at that time. It's again, it comes back to the whole fear thing.
Yeah, just impulse. I mean, and rightfully so. I mean,
Yep.
as a person, if you were attacked, you'd react without thinking, and as a nation, it's no different. You know.
Well,
Yeah, absolutely.
In the 1940s, they put the Japanese into the internment camps.
Yeah.
That was a knee jerk, and that was all good. And it wasn't just Japanese; it was also Italians and Germans as well.
No, they weren't in internment camps. They were able to walk the streets with no issues, man. Did you see internment camps on the East? Did you see internment camps on the East Coast? Nope. Only the Japanese on the West Coast. There's a story about that. If you do a deep
I'll
dive,
check that out. I thought they were
quite
also in
interesting.
camps, too.
Even though Franklin Delano Roosevelt was a good president, a good wartime president, he was a good peacetime president, got us out of the throes of the Great Depression. But no, you didn't see Italians and Germans being locked up. That didn't happen. But it happened to the Japanese on the West Coast.
It's funny. The most decorated unit of World War II was an old Japanese
442nd. 442nd. Yep. The most decorated regiment in World War II. They fought in Italy. But and it just goes back to, no nations without their blemishes. And, that's one of them. So
no,
again, that's a story for another day. But man, Ibrahim, I appreciate you coming on, man. And just telling your
Thanks
story.
for hopping on, dude. It's good talking to you, by the way. It's the first time I get to talk to you on
Yeah, no, appreciate it, man. I learned a couple of things myself, man. I mean, from your perspective, so appreciate
Awesome.
it.
And that's what it's about. It's about sharing ideas and just understanding. That's what it comes to, understanding.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys.
All right,
Well,
Ibrahim.
All right, man.
Hey,
Have a great night.
talk to you around, man.
Take care, man.
All right, man. Later.
See ya. All right, there's Ibrahim. Oh man, fantastic.
Dude,
thank him.
I love hearing that perspective, man.
I just want to hear what other people have to say. You know how I am. I love talking. And
dude.
And I just love having that communication. I want to learn from people. That's what I want to do. I love learning from people. Doesn't mean they're right, doesn't mean I'm right. It's about just sharing different ideas and their experiences. You learn something, right? Got to learn something every day. That was fantastic. All right, man, we've been going an hour and a half. I'm about ready to close it down, man. I'm getting a little bit on the tired side. It was a busy day today. Had fun out in the backyard, digging in that freaking clay.
You still digging in the clay?
I'm done now. It's over. Man. Digging in the clay is done. So was my damn back. God, man. Anyway,
it wasn't that damn red clay, was it, man?
No,
remember that shit out there in Texas?
Yeah,
man. You talk about a uniform ruiner. That shit was, my God,
dude. Talk about. I know how to put a pick to use, but it ain't easy. It's like it's like hammering into concrete, man. Those first 6 inches of topsoil. I'm gonna say the first 6 inches of concrete, but once you get through that, then it gets a little bit easier. But man, dude, talk about tired.
I'm gonna go have another one of these after I get done.
You're disgusting, dude. God, you're disgusting.
It's in habanero, man.
I don't care. It could be in the best thing ever. I ain't no damn freaking sardines, man.
Sardines
get out
are
of here.
good, man. Hey, you gotta get a good can. Your good can will change
good
your
can.
mind.
Throw it right out the damn window. That's where that good can's going. All right, guys. Hey, appreciate you hanging out again.
Here, man.
We did a back-to-back 2 nights in a row. How about that? Holy crap, man. But
yeah, that's the first time we've done one of those, I think. Well, hold on.
Yeah, that's the first time we've ever done that, I think.
Well, no. We were doing back-to-back when the Israelis were kicking off their offensive, I think.
Yeah, we might have done that when it was maybe. It might have been.
Maybe no. This might be the first, actually. The next debate is probably going to be within a couple of weeks. Apparently, Kamala requested another debate.
So I don't see that happening. Don't see it happening.
No.
Don't see it happening.
Yeah.
There would be no reason why she should do that, to be honest with you. I understand why Trump would want to do it again, but if you want to hear the breakdown, go check out the show from yesterday. We talked about the debate, so go check it out.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
All right, guys. Until the next one, catch me on Giant Sports Talk Live. Be going live tomorrow, probably about the same time, around 9:50. Hey, today went a little bit longer. Giants put up a lot of runs, so it made the game go a lot longer.
Kick some ass.
But yeah, we'll see what's up. Maybe 9 o'clock, 9:30. Who knows? Somewhere around there. But until next time, when am I going to go live on MHC? Not sure. We'll see. Again, it all depends on what's going on in the world. Oh, did you see what Erdogan said today? Real quick.
No.
Let me touch on this before we get out of here. I found it
Act,
quite interesting.
says Jake from State Farm.
Quite interesting.
The thoughts on conspiracy theories?
Here we go.
Take from it what you will, I guess. I
Here
don't
we
really
go.
believe in any of them. I don't think we were set up. I mean, the FBI dropped the ball for sure.
It was a total intelligence breakdown as far as
100%.
September, you
One
talking
hand
about
wasn't
September
talking to
11th?
the other,
Oh,
and
it was a
it happened.
disaster. Disaster.
Yeah, it was total intelligence disaster. 100%. 100%.
The guy's name was Ben Sliney. He was actual the first day on the job. I'm not sure what that one was. I don't get into that whole conspiracy theory of 9/11. That's just me. That's just me.
Yeah, I kind of try to stay.
One
out
thing
of
I
it.
haven't done, and I probably should do one of these days, but it's going to be a long read, is going over the September 11th Commission.
I mean,
Man,
I've
that could
watched
be-
Loose Change and stuff like that. I mean, I've watched those conspiracy videos, and none of it.
I
none
mean,
of it really
we're able to witness it live on TV. I mean, there's nothing really to.
Yeah, the planes didn't come out of nowhere. It wasn't staged. I saw it happen with my own.
There
two
wasn't
eyes.
explosives in the buildings. Come on.
No.
When you get a airliner filled to the brim, you remember they picked aircraft that were going cross country. So they're going to be filled up with a shit ton amount of jet fuel. And it's going to
They
burn
can,
hot.
Jake. They actually
It's gonna burn
cloud
hot.
seeding is an actual really thing. But anyway, so yeah, okay.
Cloud seeding,
Sorry.
yeah, that's to make it rain. Anyway, here we go. Turkish President Erdogan in a video addressed during the Crimea platform emphasized that Crimea needs to be returned to Ukraine. In his speech, noted that the Tartars have the right to live a free and safe and peaceful life in their homeland. He added that he hopes Crimean Tartars will be freed from Russian captivity as soon as possible. There was, hold on. There was something else in here. Where was it? I think there was one. He basically
What in
said
the
it needs to be returned back to.
Right.
It needs to be returned back to
No, it's Erdogan, chick.
Ukraine.
Prime
Turkey's
Minister
support for
Turkey.
Ukraine's territorial integrity, sovereignty, and independence is unwavering. The return of Crimea to Ukraine is a requirement of international law. That is in quotes. That's what Erdogan. That's quite interesting. Considering where he has been going with the whole Hamas thing, that's actually pleasant to see, especially from a NATO country.
He's
Don't
putting
forget,
some water on the fire. We'll see how
Turkey-
it goes.
Turkey is a NATO country. Oh, I mentioned this earlier. Before we get out of here, man, how did I forget this? Remember this guy? Buscemi?
That's Steve Buscemi. Yeah.
Worked the 12-hour shifts alongside other firefighters,
Rob?
digging and sifting through the rubble of the World Trade Center looking for survivors before he became an actor. How about that?
No,
Huh.
I don't watch anime.
God, he looks so damn young, doesn't he?
Handsome looking
Man.
dude back then. Now he looks like a
Wow.
crackhead.
All right, guys, that's enough for tonight. Let's get
All
the
right,
hell
guys.
out of
Yeah,
here.
let's peace out of here, dudes.
I appreciate the
Happy
support,
Wednesday,
guys.
Happy Hump Day.
Yep.
I'm gonna have these 2 cans of sardines and
yeah.
piss off Eric. I might even send him some pictures.
Oh, jeez. Oh, man. All right, guys. It's time to get out of here. We will see you on the next one. See ya.